podcast arise.
Hello everyone and welcome to AppliEpisode 2. It's me, by myself again, it's just May. And I think that we're pretty much going to be covering the episodes like this, in this sort of format, with a very brief instant reaction episode every week where I'm alone and I'm discussing it. I might invite someone else on depending on timing, but I really like to have them to be topical and to be out on straight after I see the episode and straight after the episode's released, pretty much. And Jay still doesn't want to watch the Raw with me, and that's fine. And I just thought that I'd put out a second episode just with my thoughts on the second episode of Applimonsters. And again, I pretty much think this is a pretty promising start to the series. I really enjoyed this episode. Probably I didn't enjoy it as much as I enjoyed the first episode. But that might also be because I think I understood less in this episode than I did in the first episode. But it's hardly something that's complicated to understand what's going on. It was pretty easy just to understand what was going on through what was being displayed on the screen. And that's fine. I mean, I picked up words here and there, and I looked up some words, and, I think I learned something. But I wish my Japanese was better so I could have a deeper understanding of what was going on. And anyway, so this is just going to be me talking about what I liked about the episode, and yeah, basically. I hope that's entertaining enough, but it's not going to be a particularly long or fantastic episode. It's just going to be me talking at you for, the last one was 20 minutes, so maybe this one will also be around that length. So I won't go, through everything that happens. I won't give it a whole rundown of synopsis, because presumably if you're listening to this, you've probably already listened to it. But basically, we meet a boy called Watson, and he's playing with his friends with his 3DS, and then he gets told to move along by a security guard because he's loitering, and then he's using his map app to try and get home, but it leads him on a weird path, and he's wondering what happened, and he meets a dog, but we don't know that he meets a dog until later. And straight off the bat, I have a thing I really liked. It's Haru's alarm that Gatchmon set, and it's so cute. And also, Gatchmon has a little bike that he's riding throughout the room. It's so cute. Anyway, so Haru and Gatchmon go to the bookstore, and they say, oh, look, Ai-chan might be in here. And then Gatchmon says that she's been there, and he likes her. Haru likes her. And so he's in there, and then he meets Ai-chan's dad. And then I think Ai's missing. So then they go off to hunt, her down to find her, and Haru and Gatchmon are worried that it's an Appmon that's doing this. And then I'm not entirely sure that this is what was going on, but then Gatchmon explains that there's this big bad guy that's causing problems with but behind the app's phones and stuff like that, and it's someone that only a protagonist can fight, and it's basically Cthulhu from what it looks like. Then something is wrong with Gatchmon, but he doesn't really know what's wrong, because he says, oh, what's happening to me? He sort of goes black and white, so maybe that's the Cthulhu-mon. Then we see this guy who pulls up, and he says he's lost, and he's got a little Navi, and it's a little Appmon pops out, and it's Navimon, and he bounces on a Wi-Fi symbol. It's really cute. So it turns out, yes, this Navimon is making everyone lost. And it's a problem that's being reported on the news, that all the navigation apps are just not working now. And they're telling people to not use the navigation app, use something that use the Melways, or what does everyone have? Not the street directory, there we are. And to tell them to use those, and then they go to the digital world area, the Digicourts. And Navimon is so cool looking, and I'm just gonna say it right now, I really like the way that they've thought about how each app fights, and how each app uses their own powers in a unique way, and it doesn't feel flat, it doesn't feel unimaginative, it's just, I really like it. Navimon uses the little pinpoints that you see on a map, and then that connects to his foe, and he fires homing missiles at it. That's pretty good. It's useful if you had a Navimon, but I'm just saying, from the design point of view, that's pretty imaginative, and I really like that. And then, yeah, he fires the missiles at them, and then Haru casts Mesamon on Gatchmon and gets a power-up, and this is the first time I've ever seen a paired Applimon, because, as of the last episode, he now has a new chip. So he's now able to power them up, and they are able to use special moves. So he defeats Navimon, and then he gets Navimon's chip, I think, but I'm not sure if you've actually seen Navimon's chip or not. Oh, yeah, no, but you do later. Anyway, Then Cameramon shows up and he says, I am Cameramon. And then Haru says, Chimeramon? And he says, no, Chimeramon janai, Kamuramon. And then I think that there's a funny part where Haru can't say ka. He keeps on saying ke. And then he says, no, ka. And he's like, Kamuramon. It's really cute. And then, like, when Cameramon jumps down, and then he takes a selfie because he's a camera, and it's a really nice touch. And again, I really like how the Appmon are able to be used in these ways that's completely unique. And presumably each Appmon has a different move and different abilities, and there aren't really, like, you can't find two Navimon. It's not like in Digimon Adventure where you went upon the Koromon village and there was just a group of Koromon. I think it's different to that. I think each Appmon is unique and there's no other Appmon like it. So there won't be any more Gutchmon. We're not going to have like a Gutchmon village. We're not going to see another Navimon because this is the only Navimon that exists. And I think in that way it's going to be more like Yokai Watch. This series seems to be like a cross between almost like Cross Wars, Young Hunters, and Yokai Watch. And I've never watched the Yokai Watch anime. Like, I played the game, so I have like an understanding. And I've read the manga. And I've watched Cross Wars Hunters, and I have the unpopular opinion that I enjoy it. And that's fine. I'm allowed to enjoy things. And I just feel like if it keeps on going like that, this may be a good thing. And also, I think it's a smart thing, and I'm pretty sure I mentioned this in the last AppliEpisode, and it's just, the creators of Digimon would need to keep current with what the kids are watching, and at the moment, the kids are watching Yokai Watch. And it's not in the same way that Pokemon keeps its formula every season, and I think that's a bad thing about Pokemon, is that every season and every episode is basically the same it follows the same formula. As you go, at the start of the season, Ash goes to a new region, he meets the new starters, he meets new Pokemon. The only Pokemon that he really keeps with him is Pikachu, and everything else that's new. But it's still, that's every season still the same. And while they introduce new Pokemon, the formula of how the episodes goes and the plot, it's not so much different. Whereas with Digimon, they seem to keep on making sure that each season is hip with the kids and is fresh and isn't continually the same story. And so I really have high hopes for Applimon. And as I said, there wasn't so much that I understood in this episode compared to the last episode. There was a bit more talking, and I understood bits of it, like I got lost, but then she was found by Eugene later on, and I'm pretty sure this was just her being lost by the sat-nav, the Navi app. And again, it's just, in this way, it's like Yokai Watch, how they've got, that the monster of the week is actually stopping you from doing something, or it's wreaking havoc in the town. And in that way, it's also kind of like the Hunters, because that was always the plot. Like, he'd go around and, there'd be a problem. Like, some kid would be doing a weird thing with drawing, or, there'd be a weird train noise every night. And then he would go into the Digicourts, and then he'd see what was happening, behind the scenes. And then he'd capture that Digimon, he'd save the day, stop the problem from happening, and then he'd get a new Digimon. And those Digimon were fairly unique. So I think that, it's going to be the same sort of collecting Digimon mechanic from Hunters. So maybe it's going to be the same sort of story again. Whether or not that'll get boring, I don't know. I don't think so, because there seem to be other protagonists as well from, the opening that we've seen. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how these other characters will react, when they find their Digimon. Have they already found Appmon? Have they already found the Appmon? Do they already have their Appli Drive? Are we going to get introduced to these characters and they're going to, find their Appli Drive somewhere and we're going to see it? Or, has this already happened while we've been watching Haru? And, in Hunters, it was mainly really the main character, and that was about it. And especially with the app link that we've seen in this episode, is that was a lot like a Digicross. So I feel like they have maybe gotten ideas from Cross Wars, but that's fine. I don't feel like it's a huge problem, but if it goes in the exact same way constantly, it may become a problem, and I can see that Applimon might, suffer from it's basically just Cross Wars again. But I have enough hopes that they're just laying down the situation, and it's unique enough that, these are apps, and they're not just, poltergeists. They're people who have the app who are affected. And it's not everyone who's being, affected, but if everyone has this app, everyone's affected. And it's also, maybe it's a social commentary on, everyone has this app. What happens if the app malfunctioned? Like, what happened if the Google Maps stopped working? How many people would be lost? Probably a lot. And what would happen if, all our messages started to come out to everyone in the world? That's a problem. And maybe I should watch Yokai Watch so I'm able to compare what Yokai Watch is like compared to this. Because, as I said, I've only played the game, I've read the manga, like the first volume of the manga, and I've enjoyed it. And I feel like if I watched that, I would maybe have more things to say about Applimonsters. Maybe I would say, it's Yokai Watch is better, which I don't think it would be. I feel like the story is more compelling in Applimonsters than it was in the manga that I read, which was fairly basic. And while this is basic too, it doesn't seem as basic. And I like Yokai Watch. I like the game. I think they're cute. I love Jibanyan. I have him on my phone. So it's not like I'm saying Yokai Watch is bad. Yokai Watch is fine. I just feel like I have faith that Applimon can overcome that, whether or not it'll be more popular or as widely received as Yokai Watch, because Yokai Watch is pretty, huge there, and it's been there for a while as, Yokai Watch. So maybe Applimonsters, when Digimon hasn't been as popular in passing years, maybe this will set them apart and make them better. Maybe people will just say it's a copy of Yokai Watch, and I hope not, because, to be fair, Digimon did come first, but this is a pretty different series of Digimon. And, yeah, that's basically my thoughts. In general, this episode wasn't as good as episode 1. I did like how we saw Dogachamon, and we have Kameramon, who maybe he's a bad guy, maybe he's not, maybe he just wants to fight. That's fine. I really like the Applink segments. I just really enjoyed that they're really lively animated, and the colours are lively, and everything's very lively. So while episode 1 was promising, this is still promising, but, I can see that, may be worse, but I have enough faith that I believe that Digimon can do this, and I think that it will get better when we meet more characters. I feel like the reason I didn't enjoy this episode as much as the first is we didn't get much of a look at other characters. And hopefully next time. We seem to have had a look at Roleplaymon in the Next Time On segment at the end. And yeah, I hope I will like this. I think I will like this. I have faith in it, but as I said, I can see this going in I can see this going nowhere fast, but I hope they introduce new characters as soon as possible, because I don't want to see the adventures of one guy for the whole series. I want to see adventures of Guy and friends. And I don't know, I'd still like Haru. He's really cute. Before watching this episode, I thought that Yujin might actually be a Navimon in disguise, because they look pretty similar. They've got red and green and yellow. I mean, to be fair, that's Haru's as well, but it matches Yujin better. I just feel like I thought that he was an Applimon, but he's not. Maybe. And I still want to know what's up with Yujin. He's just too suave and too smooth. Probably is evil, isn't main character. Why isn't he main character? But I love Haru though. And yeah, so those were my brief thoughts on the episode. Hopefully we get a sub out as soon as possible. And I haven't watched the sub yet at all, but I will watch it when Jay watches it. So one day, hopefully. So yeah, see you guys next time. And yeah, I hope you guys listen to this. If you have any feedback about what I should be discussing in the Appli episodes, let me know, because this is mainly just me talking for 15 minutes by myself, which is kind of hard. It's just hard to just talk for 15 minutes and not have any silences, because silences get cut out anyway. So yeah. I hope these are entertaining. If they're not, please tell me. If you have any suggestions, please tell me. If they're great, please tell me, because otherwise I won't know. Thanks for listening, and I really hope that you enjoyed listening to this, me talking for 15 minutes, or however many minutes it has been, about this episode that just came out. I really recommend it. Hopefully you've already watched it if you are listening to this. If you haven't, please watch it. It is good. And again, if people watch it, maybe they'll want to release it more if they see the stats. But that's just my theory. I could be wrong. I'll link the episode in the description, which is the same place it was last week. So episode 1 is no longer there, but episode 2 is there now. And hopefully it stays there, and it doesn't do that little flip that episode 1 did, where it disappeared for an hour and then came back. I still don't know why it did that. Maybe it was a mistake of deleting it. But yeah, this episode is currently there. So if you haven't watched it yet, watch it as soon as possible, because presumably they will be releasing each week's episode on that site, and then once the next episode's up, the previous episode will no longer be there. So yeah, watch it. And yeah, my theory is that if you watch it and they see the stats and it's coming from all over the world, they say, hey, why don't we localize this? Hopefully, fingers crossed, there was no harm in trying, right? And yeah, so contact us and stay updated as usual. It's the same places, but I also would really like to know whether or not this is a good episode or not. And I'm not used to talking by myself. I'm used to having a co-host. And I want to have practice in talking on my own because I would like to start doing Let's Plays more. And it's harder to find time to do a Let's Play with another person. And while it may be more entertaining to do with another person, it's easier to do it by myself because otherwise I don't have to set up stuff and make time for Jay to come over or someone to come over to be my co-host in a Let's Play. But I would really like to try to be entertaining on my own. So please give me feedback about that, please. Anyway, so you can email us at LostinTranslationmon@gmail.com, or you can comment on this episode or message us on SoundCloud. You can follow us on @TranslationMon on Twitter and on Vine, and you can find us on LostinTranslationmon on Tumblr, Facebook, and YouTube. We have Discussion Thread on With the Will, where I post each episode, and I also chat with people from time to time. And I probably won't link this on Reddit, but I will. Episode 71 I just released, so I'll link this episode in the comments for episode 71, because I really try to have, I'm really trying to make this podcast more, widely spread, and I would like people to listen to this. And maybe they're not listening to our normal episodes, but maybe they'll listen to our episodes. And, yeah, I'm just trying a few different things. I want people to enjoy this podcast. I want this to be something that people enjoy. And maybe they're not interested in Tamers, maybe they're more interested in Apply episodes. I don't know. Anyway, we'd also really appreciate it if you were to review us on iTunes or Stitcher or any podcast listening service that I've stuck this RSS feed in. If you're listening to it somewhere and there's a rating bar, please rate and review, because that'd be pretty cool. And it makes our day when someone gives us a positive review. You have no idea. Also, thanks to our Patreon supporters, Stevie and Sam, who have a podcast called The Moncast, which talks about Pokemon and Digimon. Wu Qinglong, who streams on Twitch, twitch.tv/WQINGLONG. Metal Mamimon, Joe, Anime Guy, who is Anime Guy Kurosaki, and then the number 1 on YouTube. Chuckmon, Ishpol Bamba, Hiro Alato, who is Hiro Alato on Twitter. Jason Morosky, Frost Moragic, who is at Frost Moragic on Twitter. Stephen Reeds, who is at WildWing64 on Twitter, Kaidawashi, Mark, Noam, Riku, Red and Garrett from Breakfast with Digimon, which is another Digimon podcast, and Jams. You can also make a one-off donation on PayPal, which can be found linked in the description. It's paypal.me/Edramon, and make sure to let us know that it's for the podcast. So yeah, see you guys next time, and please let me know what you think. And yeah, so I hope you enjoyed Applimon, and I hope that, I'm really hopeful for this show, and I really hope that it does well. So yeah, see you guys, bye!